What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how to live off the grid, which will open up pockets of your time that you could be using for useful stuff? Well, I got good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you how to do this. It's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener of the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to the Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle back with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength, number 41, and of unlockingyourinnerstrength.com. Yes, I still sound like a frog. Hopefully, this resides in the near future. But I have thought a little bit about Scott Adams, who has one of my favorite books, How to Fail at Nearly Everything and Still Win Big. Great book. He's the creator of Dilbert. But in the book, he talks about how he lost his voice for, I think, like a year and gone, had no voice. So sometimes I think in my head, I'm like, man, is this going to be one of those cases where I just keep losing my voice and it just disappears forever? That would be pretty weird. But I don't think that's going to happen. Today, I told you we'd be talking about Tool Boy. Tool Boy, for those of you that are new to the concept, is a real person, which has kind of morphed into a mythical legend. Tool Boy represents things that annoy people that other people do when basically they're just being a tool, but they can't see that themselves. So yes, Tool Boy is a real person. Yet the example of Tool Boy that I'll use today when I talk about specifics is another person that has taken on Tool Boy qualities. So Tool Boy has become more of a symbol. Now let me tell you a story about Devan and I. I believe I told this in another episode as well, but I'm not quite sure about that. Up until I met Devan, I would go through, all these girlfriends, nothing too serious. I think my longest girlfriend before Devan was like a year and a half. And they would invariably break up with me, tell me I was too nice. And I would always beat myself up, say, man, I got to be more of a badass. I got to be mean, which may become in all these relationships from a position of neediness. I thought I needed a girlfriend or I needed somebody else to make me whole. And whether they picked up on that vibe, I was never like a clingy person. But I was still coming from a position of need, which was drawing me to the wrong people. It was drawing other needy people into my life that they had all these issues, daddy issues or issues with ex-boyfriends or insecurity issues that I wasn't really cut out to fill that void. If I had wound up with any of those girls, I would not have the freedom or room to create and inspire that I do. That's why Devan's a perfect partner for me, the perfect wife for me. So when you come from a position of need, you get more neediness and needy people in your life. So after that last girlfriend before Devan broke up with me, I did some internal work. I went down to the beach. I was out in California at the time for a month or 6 weeks. Brought my notebook down to the beach. The girl had called me the day after I landed there and broke up with me, told me the same line of BS. And I started writing in my journal about my perfect partner, what that would look like, physically, but more so on other levels, emotionally, spiritually. What would their family be like? And then I started saying out loud, I love myself. I'm not going to change for anybody. I'm not going to be a badass. I'm not going to be a mean-spirited person. That's not who I am. I love myself, and I don't give a shit if anybody else feels that way. And it was a coming to Jesus moment in my life. Sure enough, 6 months later, I met that person I was writing my journal about because I was coming at the relationship, even though I didn't know it was going to be a relationship, from a completely different vantage point. So what does that have to do with Tool Boy? It has to do with neediness. With a Tool Boy, everything is about attention. They feel a big void in their life. They're not secure in who they are, so they need constant attention. So attention is their drug. Doesn't matter what type of attention it is. Just like any other drug, whether it's alcohol, weed, food, porn, it doesn't matter. They're all drugs because they affect the internal, biochemical, and hormonal environment of your body. And in that regard, food is the most powerful drug of all those I just listed. Let's say you had a stressful day at work. A lot of people will come home and partake in one of those four things: booze, weed, or another drug, porn, or food. They feel better temporarily, but it's not that's really alleviating a symptom. It's not getting to the root of it. That's why people stress eat and they have this pattern. I don't know why I do this to myself, blah, 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 blah. That's why they do it, because it's not getting to the cause. It's just addressing a symptom. So Tool Boy goes after neediness in the same way. Temporarily they feel good, and then they wake up the next morning and say, damn, I feel empty again. What can I do today to get some type of attention, any type of attention? The most recent Tool Boy, which I'll tell you a story how, I'll tell you a story in a second about a wedding I was at with this Tool Boy. But he's been posting all this stuff on Facebook, and he keeps popping up on my newsfeed. And I haven't blocked him yet because it's amusing and it gives me fodder for shows like this or when I write. But everything is a negative slant. And then sometimes I'll post and question him, what do you mean by that? Why don't you see it this way? And he'll usually respond with, well, I would like to think that blah, 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 blah. So he doesn't want to think that. He just wants to put stuff up that he knows is going to push people's hot buttons because people are ripping him on there. But he doesn't care because a Tool Boy wants any type of attention. Doesn't matter. He's not inspiring anybody. He's trying to really break people down. If you remember what I said last episode with Trump, you're going to attract a lot of attention if people hate you or they love you. If you're in the middle, forget it. You're not going to draw any attention. So think about that for a few seconds. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how to live off the grid, which will open up pockets of your time that you could be using for useful stuff? Well, I got good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you how to do this. It's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener of the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. Now, with this Tool Boy, I decided to have some fun at a wedding we were at in the fall. So I've known this guy for a long time, and I know how Tool Boys respond or react to situations. I have a pretty extensive knowledge base of how the brain works in human psychology. So we're at the wedding, and sometimes it can be a little crazy if you have me and my brothers around with some old buddies. So I start telling everybody, hey, we're going to get Tool Boy. You know, Tool Boy's a big macho guy. I'm going to get everybody to put in a little money. I'm going to go up to the DJ, and we're going to have a push-up contest with Tool Boy. If he can do 100 straight push-ups, he's going to win the pot. So I start gathering momentum. People start holding up money. He finds out, no, I'm not doing that. I said, you got to do it, man. I said, come on, you're this big bodybuilder. This is your chance. Now, chance for what? Who the hell knows? But it didn't matter to him. He wanted attention. And I knew that if I just kept persuading him and influencing him, remember the marketing piece episode I did last time, that this would come to fruition. So Devan and my sister-in-law got wind of what I was doing. And Devan just, she's shaking her head. She knew it was coming. So I get the DJ on board. We get Tool Boy all amped up. We get him to buy in. You're going to do 100 push-ups. Now, I knew there's no way in hell he's doing 100 push-ups in a row, because if you haven't attempted that before, it's very difficult to do. Not that it can't be done, but it's going to push you more so mentally. A Tool Boy was focused on his neediness for attention. If he weighed his risk versus reward from the position he was coming from, he never would have done this. Because to a Tool Boy, pride is everything. If he came at it from a different position, remember what I said about my relationship with Devan? He could have viewed this as a fun experience and a way to get the crowd riled up. Because the wedding was a little dry to that point. So this did help kick it off and really get people out there on the dance floor after that. So a lot of it has to do with what position you're coming from. So anyway, Tool Boy gets out there, and we don't even raise like $100. It wasn't even that much money. But we told him the whole room was going to pitch in. So it'd been like a couple $1,000, even though a lot of the old people had no idea. They were watching, like, what the hell is going on here? So, me and my buddies, my brothers, we make a big circle around him on the dance floor. And the DJ starts counting. 1, 2. And Tool Boy did get up to like the mid-60s, and then he gassed out. And everybody starts jeering him and booing him. Went back to his seat, and I looked at my brother. I said, man, in a way I feel sad because I just took the one thing, deflated the one thing that's important to him, which was his pride. But in a way, hopefully when he's a little wiser, he'll realize that something like that shouldn't affect you where you have your head down in your hands and you're just crushed. I mean, this is a grown man, for God's sakes. But he's a Tool Boy. So that was actually, that was a funny moment, to say the least. So neediness drives them. But in neediness, so I want you to think of putting your hand in water and squeezing the water, lifting your hand up so you have a clenched fist. Now, if you clench the fist, and that's grasping onto something, that's neediness. That represents neediness. The water is going to flow through your fingers. You're going to wind up with nothing. Now, keep your hand open. Cup it just a little bit. Put it into that water. The water's going to stay there. You could drink out of it. If you do that, and you continue to do that, you're always going to have something in your hand. That's a position of openness, being open to what transpires before you. So hopefully you can make that connection with neediness and how Tool Boys act. Now, what's the best way to deal with the Tool Boy? You ignore them. What do you mean? Well, now that you know they need neediness, and I'm sure you probably work with a Tool Boy, they need attention, I should say. By ignoring somebody else, you hit the same pain center in the brain that lights up when there's physical pain. Think back to any relationship you've had that didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out at the time. And that person ignored your phone calls or your texts or whatever it was. That was painful. That hurt. Or when they broke up with you and you were hoping they would call you, or you would call them, they wouldn't call you back. That hurt a lot. I know because I've been there. So ignoring people causes the same pain in the brain that physical pain does. And you're going to help the Tool Boy by doing this. As soon as I realize they're not going to get attention for their silly antics, they'll start to change. They'll have no choice. Now, Tool Boys have sociopathic tendencies, meaning they will lie. That's just who they are. 1 in every 25 people is a sociopath, believe it or not. Sociopaths are drawn to professions such as politics, positions of power, or being a Tool Boy. Sociopaths always are thinking about themselves and how they can get what they want. They'll talk to you, but you can tell they're not really there. They'll mimic emotions. They don't really feel emotions the same way. And I'll do a whole show on sociopaths too. So I keep notes of all these shows I'm going to do for you guys about the money mindset and all this stuff. So pay attention for the Tool Boys in your life. They're out there, and I told you how it's kind of morphed into this just way of being. People still ask me about Tool Boy all the time. Who the original one was. Can I do another episode? Can I write more about Tool Boy? So I'm happy to announce that in my fictional book that I'll be completing this year, that's book number 3, Tool Boy will have a role. Now, the book is going to be some far-out stuff with life lessons, but I'm going to have Tool Boy in there, a character that takes after a famous sheriff. Bigfoot's going to be a big part of it, conspiracies. But Tool Boy will be in there, along with Turkey Head. If you've ever been to the gym and you met Turkey Head's going to have a role too. It's going to be a little different, but it's going to be based on Turkey Head, the real Turkey Head. Turkey Head's a guy that's been training with me for 7 years now. I want to wrap this episode up with this. I'm not a mean-spirited person. I don't think if you're listening to this that you're mean-spirited either. It just wouldn't be your nature to listen to something like this. We're all doing, even Tool Boys, the best we can with what we have. For your level of thinking or development or consciousness, you're doing the best you can in life. And even those people around you that have failed you, that have let you down time and time again, that have disappointed you, they don't want to do that to you. They don't want that to happen. Every parent will eventually let down their children. Nobody can live up to this mythical standard of being a Superman or Superwoman. So even Tool Boys are doing the best they can with what they have. So with that in mind, if you come across a Tool Boy, help them in ways that you can. It might be by ignoring them. It might be that one day they're going to come to you for advice because I realized, man, I feel empty. So be ready when that day comes. So thanks for listening. I look forward to being back next week for episode number 42. Please share this podcast with anybody that you think it can help. We're going to be having a retreat this summer. It's going to be a high-ticket retreat. Details are coming out to really transform lives in a matter of a week. It's not going to be for the faint of heart. It's not going to be for the meek. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do so. That helps us out greatly. And again, I thank you for your support. I'll be back next week. Peace.
You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.